Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another Live from Studio B session right here at Montana Public Radio. I'm Michael Marsolek on this Friday afternoon. It is actually January 31st, a big day in public radio history here in Montana. This is the actual day when 60 years ago, the first station, KUFM, turned on. And as part of our celebration, we're airing a number of archival things today and celebrating, of course, throughout the year. We've got a live session this afternoon to help us celebrate as well on this anniversary day for Montana Public Radio. Award-winning, Grammy-winning guitarist Bill Mize is with us here in the studios today. Play a little bit for us this afternoon. Bill, first of all, welcome. Thanks for coming by.
I'm quite honored, Michael. Thanks for asking on such a very special day.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
Man, it's awesome.
I want to talk about your recordings. You've got a brand new record out called The South Wind. A little bit about your history and also connections back to Tennessee, where you're originally from. Well, how about starting with a couple of tunes for us?
Sure will. I think I'm going to start with the title tune of The South Wind. This is an old Irish song. And I guess the story goes that in the 1700s, there was a ghost ship coming up the coast from the south along the coast of Ireland, and the ghosts on board were humming this melody. And the locals adopted it, and made a song out of it. And they call it The South Wind.
This is Bill Mize, live on Montana Public Radio.
Well, I'm going to play an older tune here. This is for people that might be out driving in their car, commuting. Rush hour traffic on Friday is not exactly a pleasant experience sometimes, and I don't want to put you to sleep, so I'm going to pick it up a little bit. And this is a tune that I kind of was thinking about. One of my favorite record labels affected me a lot, influenced me a lot, especially my younger days on my electric guitar playing. And a lot of great music came from Stax recording studio in Memphis, and the Steve Cropper and those guys. And I was just trying to try to catch the spirit of that, and I came up with this little tune, and I call it Might Should, which is Tennessee. I think I can do that. So, but
Might should?
Might should.
Might should.
Yeah, I got two tunes on that CD. One is Might Should, and it follows with Might Could. I get them mixed up. Anyway.
Guitarist Bill Mize with us here live from Studio B, Montana Public Radio. So glad to have you listening wherever you might be. Bill is with us for part of this hour to help us celebrate. We're celebrating 60th anniversary of Montana Public Radio and our first live session of 2025 as well. Bill has a great website with information on his recordings and touring and much more. It's billmize.com. That's M-I-Z-E, billmize.com. Bill has 7 solo recordings out and tablature books available on the website and other information there as well. A Grammy-winning guitarist and also past winner of the National Fingerstyle Guitar Competition, and had a couple of pieces featured on Ken Burns documentaries, both national parks and country music. And so great to have you with us live in studio.
Like I say, Michael, I'm really honored to be here. I think the first time I was here was probably in the late 90s, and I think I was passing through, and hey, little did I predict.
Right.
You know?
Well, and you're from Tennessee. Where did you grow up in Tennessee?
I grew up in well, it used to be a little town called Sevierville. It's used to be a speed trap between Knoxville and the Smokies. Now it's just a huge, awful traffic mess, but yeah, it was a good place to grow up. That's actually, I went to the same high school as Dolly Parton, a different time though. But it was a sweet place, and I when I graduated, I tried my hand at academia, and I was kind of a failure. I went to East Tennessee State University, and I think one of the reasons I was so distracted was I really got into playing guitar a lot. And I took off one semester and I never went back. But now the irony is East Tennessee State University offers a degree in Appalachian Studies, Appalachian music, bluegrass, and whatnot. Hey, I could have graduated with honors if I only knew back then.
Right.
If they only offered that, I would have applied myself, you know, because I was definitely applying myself, but to the wrong thing.
To the right thing, if you think about it that way, with the guitar. Well, and you lived in Tennessee. You've been off and on, coming pretty regularly to almost 3 years, I think. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your early guitar playing. You mentioned electric guitar. Were you one of those play anything with strings kind of guys in the early days? When did you gravitate more towards acoustic? And
well, I may have been. The only thing I had at my disposal was a guitar. My first guitar was so crappy I couldn't play it. I bought it for $2. I probably was 11 or 12, and I could do my Elvis moves. You know, I could stand in front of the mirror, and I ended up selling it for $6. It had really high action, and the guy I sold it to, I saw him, you know, after that, and he'd taken the bridge out and put a pencil in it, and it lowered the action, and it actually was playable. But I finally got my first good guitar, and it was, I was obsessed with music from the first. I saw Elvis on TV when I was about 5, and I knew right then.
Wow!
I didn't know what, but I knew. And my first song I ever learned on guitar was "All My Loving," and you know, as they say, keep picking at it; it'll never heal, and that's been so true for me. And I'm 71, and love it as much as I ever have, or if not
That's
more.
great. Well, and you're still performing and touring and playing different places. Again, a new album just came out, Southwind, this last year. When you've had some comments I noticed in your publicity over the years where I really credit you for, you know, the influence of Tennessee, of Appalachia coming kind of into your play, or how you celebrate maybe the music that you make. Do you think about that formally as an instrumentalist, of pulling from a place, or how do you look at that?
I don't. I just, you know, we all have musical libraries, and I started listening to, my musical education was a $10 Zenith radio when I was a kid. That was one of the first things I ever bought. and it all just gets in there, filters around, and I grew up listening to. There was a lot of that music around radio, real, as you say, hillbilly music, hillbilly gospel, and I'd always watch like Flat and Scruggs on Saturdays, and I can't say I liked the music at all, but I just could. I had to watch it. When later on in later years, I grew to love it, and especially I love bluegrass gospel and the harmonies, but I listened to a lot of soul music and R&B. That was my favorite, and of course the British invasion, it turned everybody on their ears, you know, and and I listen to now. I even listen to. I guess my tastes have grown broader. I mean, through the years, I listen to classical. Now I'm really into certain types of jazz, like ambient kind of jazz. A lot of it's European and EMC stuff, and
that's great. I think, you know, as musicians, it's a lifetime of influences that come from all over our lives, right? That we pull from to share and get to do what we love. Well, I've got some other questions, and I want to dive a little deeper in a couple things. But how about maybe you want to play a couple more tunes?
Okay, yeah. Well,
and I noticed you've changed the tuning on this. You can say something about that if you want. I know a few folks would be interested in me to ask you about your instrument you're playing as well.
This tuning is called Dadgad. It's from low to high, low strings to high strings, D-A-D, G-A-D. Very popular among Irish players, and did you ask about my guitar?
I did. I just said if you'd like to say something about that.
Yeah, I'd love
as well.
to. This guitar was built by a fella. He's in LaConner, Washington now, but he was in Seattle. A fella named Brent McElroy, and I was playing in Seattle back in 2010 or maybe even before, and Brent showed up with a couple of guitars, and he showed them to me, and I said, I only had this old Martin, which I still have. I've had it for 30 years, and I said, man, I really need another guitar, and so he built this for me, and it has so much grown on me. It's the best playing guitar I've ever played, and comfortable, and it just doesn't let me down, you know. And but it's a McElroy, and he's in LaConner, Washington now. No. And he actually has every year a LaConner Guitar Festival, and it's a lot of fun. I know local luthiers go there. John Walker goes there, and people from all over really show up. And
great.
But it's my McElroy, yeah.
Great. What are you going to play for us?
Well, the other day I got contacted by Ken Burns people. I guess they're going to renew the two documentaries, country music and
national parks, right?
National parks,
yeah.
And
America's Best Idea. I think the subtitle on that one.
Best Idea, and they used this tune on both of those, and I was just immensely surprised and grateful. But it's an old arrangement of course, it's an old song. Stephen Foster wrote it. But it's one of my favorites of Stephen Foster. It probably is my favorite. And I've been playing it the last few days. I'm going to try to play it for you. It's called Hard Times.
Hard Times. Such a great tune. It can be heard on the National Parks, America's Best Idea, and Country Music, the Ken Burns documentaries on PBS. Bill Mize is with us live in studio. Got another one for us now? In this tuning, I guess?
This tuning, I got another one in this tuning. I actually got a bunch, but I'm just going to play this. And this is another one off of my new CD, and it's just one of my favorite old gospel tunes. And there's 3 versions of this that I just really love. And one is actually an old Elvis Presley version, and then a Charlie Rich version. And the one I'm going to play, I've kind of gleaned from a Swan Silvertones version. And what's funny is they're all different, and they're all just great. But like I say, I tried to do the Swan Silvertones version. It's a little peppier, and like you're skipping along that Milky White Way is the name of the tune. I don't know if I said that, but it's called the Milky White Way. Oops, sorry, start over.
Guitarist Bill Mize is with us live from Studio B here at Montana Public Radio. I'm Michael Marsolek. Thanks for listening wherever you might be. Live session this afternoon. Part of our celebration, certainly on this day, this particular day, January 31st, 1965, was the day that the first station in the network turned on, KUFM in Missoula. It was a 10-watt station located in the journalism building here on campus at the University of Montana in Missoula. There are stories of people coming from all over the city to drive to campus to be able to hear those first recordings, and the first broadcast of the opera and that kind of thing. It's been fun for us all year. We'll be celebrating and bringing archival music and archival stories to the airwaves as part of the celebration of this anniversary this year. Bill Mize, you can get information online at billmize.com. He has not only options to purchase the 7 solo CD recordings, including the most recent one, The South Wind, but there are high-quality digital downloads available there. If you do happen to be in the Missoula area, Rockin' Rudy's does have some CDs in stock as well. And Bill, thanks again for spending some time with us this afternoon. It's so great to have you with us. I know you've done, throughout the years, you've done festivals and clinics and some teaching and other kinds of things like that over the years. How has that fit into kind of as you've toured and traveled and that kind of thing that you do?
I'll take what I can get.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I'm not, my clinics, I like to do them. I have no set plan, and I should, but I usually just go into the clinic and play, and people, they got questions, and I can hopefully answer them, and a lot of times I like for them to bring their instruments, and they can play a little, and I can make some suggestions, and that's pretty much my professional format of my clinics. Yeah.
And there are acoustic guitar festivals and other kinds of things. I know you've been in some of those, not only the festivals, but competitions and things. Yeah. Is there I don't know how much of that happens in the world, or, I guess there's also what was pre-pandemic in terms of touring and live stuff. But do you get a chance to get together with other guitarists and get in those kind of settings too?
It's funny, like, especially being fingerstyle, I don't really, I meet guitarists, and of course I become friends with some guitarists and some really, good guitarists and really good people, and I love that. But we don't hang out and jam, because I can sort of jam with people, but my focus is on, I do what I do, and I'm not that great about doing what I don't do. So, but yeah.
I think I'm always curious with musicians who spend so much time, living in an instrument, a particular instrument. And I think this is really true a lot for jazz musicians too. How do you think that you've been playing guitar a long time. How is your kind of relationship with the instrument, and just how you feel about, writing and even getting the chance to perform? Has that shifted over the years? And what do you like about it now?
I love
part of your career.
Writing.
That's
what I always have, and I like performing. I don't like going through the process so much as setting it up, especially traveling. I've done a lot. I haven't done that much the last few years. Sometimes it's incredibly rewarding spiritually, and sometimes it's like, oh man, that was a tough one or whatever. But I love it, and I put up with the not so positive experiences, and usually with me, I turn that into something good. Something a negative to positive. Like if I've had a few like real disappointments, and the first thing I do is turn to my guitar, and I'm really grateful for what little accomplishments I've had. I'm also grateful for those disappointments I've had too.
Learn a lot and grow.
It's I guess it's like resistance. When something's pushing in and you really want to get to that other side, you just try harder. It does. It makes you dig deeper. It makes me dig deeper, and now I'm kind of in the last act, I would say, and a lot of my playing now is I'm just trying to touch base with a lot of my memories, I think, too, and
maybe also I imagine previous recordings and other things you've done. It must be fun to be able to pull from, kind of a lifetime of not only interest but of experience. And
there's so many of my old tunes I couldn't tell you how I played it, but recently I'd like to play, but I'm a little rusty on it. One of my first recordings, I kind of dusted it off, and I've been playing. And it moves. It really moves me because I know where it came from, and a lot of it is about revisiting your home when you haven't been there in a long time, kind of like chasing ghosts. And a lot of times that doesn't work so well, But anyway, that's what a movie inspired that, Trip to Bountiful, actually.
Okay.
And but I'm play the South Wind. When I play that, I can imagine myself in my old cabin playing the South Wind, and which I did. And
that's great. I noticed on your website too that Mel Bay Productions did some transcripts of one of the albums.
Yeah, Tender Explorations.
Yeah, so that's kind of neat, huh?
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, blown away. And actually, Pierre Ben-Sussan, he, through Mel Bay, did a book called Dadgad, exclusively Dadgad tuning, and that's his. Pierre plays Dadgad solely, and you're probably familiar with him.
Yes.
And anyway, he used one of my tunes, which I was pretty blown away. I don't think he knows if I could find me from Adam either, but he used one of my tunes,
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, thrilled to have you coming by the studio to play for us
me
today.
too.
Got another tuning and a couple more tunes for us. I do want to mention again, follow along at home, get some information. It's billmize.com. That's Bill Mize, MIZE.com. And there you can get information on the tablature book, the 7 solo recordings information, and other things there about tours and history and such as well. And it's been great to have Bill with us today, helping us celebrate our anniversary here at Montana Public Radio, our first live session of the new year. And thank you wherever you are today. We've got a couple more tunes from Bill, and then I think we'll dig into the archives a little bit. And coming up at the top of the hour, it'll be the Pea Green Boat. What do you have for us to play here?
Well, I'm going to play a kind of a weird tune. It's off my new CD, and it's a while back. We lived back east for about 6 years until we moved back out here, Beth and I. And I was going through the Smokies a lot because that's where we were at. And I just, one day I was thinking about there's this little area in a kind of remote area in the Smokies. It's called Econically Gap. And I always thought, man, I like that. I like that word, econically. And I don't think I'd ever been there. And my next thought in this process was, it kind of sounds like Ipanema. And I thought, maybe there needs to be a girl from Econically, but polar opposite of the girl from Ipanema. Kind of more of a real, person you don't want to meet in a trail in the middle of nowhere. She's a very formidable opponent, kind of a, bad news kind of thing. And I thought, well, maybe back when the European settlers were first passing through, she would attack them and ambush them and steal all their stuff and then send them back to where they came from. So anyway, that was my original legend. But it's funny, come to find out, not long after that, we went to hear a Cherokee storyteller her name is Kathy Littlejohn, and she told a story of this woman who lived in the mountains, and she was a witch, and she did unspeakable things to people, and she had a spear that came out of one finger. Thus her name was Spearfinger. And Google it. It's kind of an interesting story, Spearfinger. But anyway, I thought, hey, that's my girl from Econekely. We're along the same thought process there. So anyway, I'm going to play Girl from Econekely. And I got a little intro poem, which is, well, it goes like this. It's short, thankfully. It's through the woods dark and dreary, past the laurel, hobble, and vine, pack a lunch, take a punch. The girl from Econekely will provide.
Bill Mize is with us live from Studio B, right here at Montana Public Radio. Well, I think we have time for maybe one more tune. If you want to give us one more this afternoon.
Yes, I'd love that. And this is, well, I think it's the last tune in the order on my CD, and it's an old folk song, and it's been around a long time. The first version I ever heard was Mississippi John Hurt. And of according to library, there's been someone, I can't remember who put their name as a writer, but it apparently goes way back farther than that. And the Library of Congress was implying that it might have came from the West Virginia coal mines.
Mm-hmm.
But my version's a little different than Mississippi John Hurt's, but it's called the Lonesome Valley, and I don't know, maybe that's the hereafter. Lonesome Valley, green pastures. If there is one, I hope it's a beautiful valley, and if our friends are walking around, and that'd be awesome. But here's my version of Lonesome Valley. And Michael, thank you so much, and happy 60th anniversary. I'm just so supremely honored to be here. One last swarp of tuning.
Guitarist Bill Mize has been with us this afternoon. Information on the web at billmize.com. The new record is out called The South Wind. Thank you so much for coming by, Bill. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Been great
Thank
to
you
have
for
here.
asking me, Michael. It's been a real treat.
This has been another Live from Studio B session here at Montana Public Radio. Our live session was produced and mixed by Jake Birch. Video production and support from Jake Williams and Jay Bradley. Our celebrations for the 60th anniversary of MTPR will continue throughout the year. And coming up next, we'll have a few special moments from the archives. Our thanks to Noah Epps, who's in Master Control. I'm Michael Marsolek. Thanks for listening.